To begin with, I would like to thank you once more for your continuous encouragement, support, and collaboration in taking up this transformation from boss to coach. I still recall my first post, which was done a year and a half back, and ever since then, the response, the support, the appreciation, the encouragement has been enormous. I never thought this will become this big, but it is because it is not about me, it's not about you, it's about all of us. And unless we come together and we speak about it, we will not see this transformation happening anytime soon. So, we are back again with another exciting video, and this time we are gonna take up the psychological safety from Coachees' perspective. Very often, psychological safety has been spoken about, has been dealt with. There are posts, articles, videos on psychological safety as to how a leader can ensure psychological safety to their team. In the last video with Matt, we also tried to cover the leader's perspective. But unless we touch upon what a coachee thinks and expects from the leader, I think the conversation will not be done. What do you think, Olivia?
I think absolutely right, Mohit. And I think it's really important through this channel that we hear all voices, hear different perspectives. And I think it's easy to talk about what a leader should do, how a leader should be. But great opportunity to say, well, what does it feel like from the other side of that? And what's good, what's bad, what works, what doesn't. So it's going to be an interesting chat.
Absolutely. Because, Olivia, I often hear people saying that I have got my team to psychological safety. I have been enough to get psychological safety for my team. But when you see the other side, you often face the challenge of saying no. You often face the challenge of bringing out your truth. And I don't want to go far because this happens with me as well. So at times, I find myself in situations where I want to say no, but I end up saying a forced yes. So I don't know why I don't get that courage, or I don't get that I would say that push to say no. But I feel one of the reasons are because the ecosystem, the environment at that point of time is not safe enough, which can drive me to speak my mind. Your take on this, Olivia?
Yeah, no, I mean, it happens to all of us, and not just at work, in lots of situations where we feel if we are honest and we put our foot down, create a boundary, it will be worse for us, whether in that moment or over time. And, I think everybody's been in that position, and probably more often than we like to admit. And I can literally see the faces of various bosses and senior people that I work with who I knew that if I said, no, I can't do that, or I won't do that, or I want to put my foot down, or this is what's important to me, I knew that they would make my life worse. And so why would I do it? So it's very much a common issue. And I think, again, talking about these things helps us to think about, so what can we do, either as coachees or as coaches, to change the dynamic?
Absolutely, no, I agree to you, and I think that's why we have got two great young professionals with us on the show today to bring out the coach's perspective. Let's go to them. So we have Nupur Singh. Nupur is a HR professional. She is deep dive into people culture matters and has been actively contributing in promoting what we call as the core values around culture. Welcome, Nupur, to the show, and thanks for taking time out.
Thank you. Thank you, Mohit. Thank you, Olivia. It's a pleasure sitting among both of you and discussing, and let's see how it goes.
Sure. The second guest we have today is Pragya. Pragya Sharma is a master's in urban planning. Pragya has been a regular contributor to various journals and newspapers, while on technical aspects, but she's equally active when it comes to people culture matters. And I thought, who else than Pragya and Nupur can enlighten us from what a coachee looks to when we say psychological safety. So, Pragya, thanks for taking time and welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you again, Mohit. It's a pleasure for me to be here on a great topic and speaking on such a great topic.
Thank you. So just begin with maybe my first question to Nupur and Pragya is, what do you feel comes in the way of saying no? Nupur, maybe you can go first.
Yeah, yeah. So, I feel, I mean, to be honest, this is a very interesting question for me because I have always found it difficult to say no. I mean, I have been in a situation where my mind always said that no, this is something which I can be, where I can be assertive enough and say no about the certain aspect. But then it's difficult for me, and when I try to reflect why it is difficult for me, then I understood the idea of getting rejected is something which was overpowering those situations, and the idea of disappointing somebody, disappointing the coach, is difficult to digest. And yeah, I mean, I have always found it difficult to say no. But yeah, I'm pretty much working on it, and having great support from the team. And yeah, I mean, that's what.
So idea of getting rejected, Olivia, this is a we spoke about moments back. Uh, I think this is very relevant. When I mentioned about situations where I end up seeing a forced yes, I think the first fear that comes to the mind is of getting rejected, or of getting into a difficult situation by annoying the person at the other side. Uh, how can we get that courage to say no when we want to without having that fear in mind?
It's an interesting one. So there's psychological safety, which I would say is very much the environment that the leader is creating. And there's also a phrase which I don't like, maybe because it describes me too, which is people pleasing. And so, actually, when we don't want to be rejected or we want to make other people happy, we want to be super helpful, then we tend to say yes to everything. So, that's inside the coachee as opposed to the coach. So, it's quite interesting. I think that, like all human interactions, it's more complicated than just saying if this happens, people will say yes and say no. And so, I think that there is something about that's an area where anyone of us who feels that they are a bit of a people pleaser, can actually sit with our own values and our own choices and think a little bit more about what's driving me to keep saying yes. And is that something that I can change? And is my leader making it easy for me to make that change, or are they making it hard? So I think you've brought up a really interesting area, Nupur. Thank you so much.
Pragya,
Pragya,
your take
what
on
do you
this?
Sorry, I was
Sorry.
asking the
Yeah,
same
Pragya,
thing.
please.
Pragya, what do you think?
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked a very relevant question. Many a times, even I have been into that situation, and I can totally relate to this. Especially as juniors in our careers, we have that kind of fear to say no to the senior officials, to the senior stakeholders, because as junior, we always want to prove ourselves. We want to prove that. You want to be seen as a team player, and you want to make that good impression always. But I feel strongly that saying yes to every request can lead to burnout. At the last, it will lead to burnout because we cannot pour water from an empty cup. It is not really possible. So we have to also understand ourselves first, because it will lead to decreased productivity. What we fear is, as rightly mentioned by Nupur, it's a kind of feeling which we'll get rejected, the feeling of rejection. Along with that feeling, many times it is fear of conflict also, like what will happen after I'll say a no, or the fear of repercussions, the fear of missing out from any opportunity in the future. We worry about us saying no will damage our relationship with the specific person and impact our career advancement. So many times it happens, but we have to understand that we are not saying no to a specific person, we are saying no to a request. So that is something which is very important. Thanks.
I think that's such an interesting point. And so I guess a follow-up question to you, Pragya. What would make it easier for you to be able to say no? What would a boss need to do or a leader do to make you feel comfortable pushing back sometimes?
Glad you asked this question, Olivia. I have had various thoughts onto the same, question which you have just put in front of all of us. That what is that one thing which will make me more comfortable? So, firstly, what I feel is creating a safe and supportive environment is very important, where not just me, everyone in the team or the people, they feel comfortable sharing their thoughts, what they feel, their opinion. So this means fostering a very open door policy and not just being judgmental from the from for your team, actively listening to the feedbacks which everyone is giving and addressing concerns which may be constructive in a respectful manner from the senior officials or the stakeholders. This is something which can actually help. And I would also like to add one more point that leaders should actually model the behavior which they expect from their team members. So, finally, we will also cultivate that kind of atmosphere in our team, being transparent, being approachable, willing to listen to the feedback as well as the criticism. So, I think this will empower the team members also to take decisions, to take ownership of their own work, and it will feel more comfortable.
Hmm.
So, Nupur, what do you feel? As Olivia has asked, Pragya, what is that one thing, or what is that couple of things, I would say, which leaders needs to not only demonstrate but prove to their team to help them say no? And no doesn't mean that you have to say no to everything, but no in situations where they wish to say no. So, what can the leaders do in that part?
I think everything boiled down to communication, and great communication can only happen when you have a curious mindset and a growth mindset. If you are hearing only in order to pass a judgment, it will never give a psychological safe environment either to your coachee or for that matter not for your own self. So I think everything boils down to communication. A great communication can build any relationship, and you must understand, I mean, the coach and the coachee at the end is running for a success at the end of for the firm and for the future. And if both of them are together aiming the same thing, it's always a good idea to have a clear communication. What are the clear objectives? And in case you have, say, if you have any thought around uh, any specific topic wherein you are not comfortable and you want to say no, I think leaders should first start asking a question: what do you think is making you feel that way? And that should be a clear question in front of coachee. And of course, the leaders should take feedbacks and they should close the loop of those feedbacks, which can help coachee to feel safe. And I mean, I personally practice that in my team. I mean, we have a mechanism of feedback wherein we take feedback, we advise our super coaches, we advise our team members that what are the things which sometimes we like, sometimes we dislike, and some things where they can do better. And the clear communication is helping to build a better team. So I think that helps. So leaders should communicate well, not just listen to, not just hear, but to listen in order to make things better.
Very, very true. Olivia, now this brings me to the thought that if a leader is not able to do what is expected out of them, as Nupur and Pragya mentioned, how can a coachee take that courage or take that step up to draw a boundary and get it defined for themselves so that they don't end up in a situation of burnout or in a situation which is adverse to it. I can recall that in one of the videos which I did with Pragya on saying no is the new yes, there's a very beautiful line which she mentioned. It's all about a life, a smile, and a breath. So how can we then take those priorities for ourselves if our leaders are not able to give them to us and define a boundary and stick to it? Can that be done by a coachee, or is it still a lot to come from the leader?
I think this is a really complex topic, and therefore that makes that a really complicated question, because it depends on why someone feels that they can't say no. And we've touched on a few things in this call. It could be just a drive in themselves. I want to be noticed. I'm going to say yes to everything. I'm going to step up to every opportunity. And yeah, as Pragya said, that leads to burnout. Now, if you're working for someone who doesn't care that you're going to burn out because they can replace you, there is a point at which you kind of need feedback from the people around you to say, actually, you need to slow down. And I don't know, maybe if you're that hungry for success and for keeping doing things, maybe you don't stop long enough to ask for the feedback. But I would say for all of us, honestly, about everything, asking for feedback from our peers, from people who know us well. What do you notice about the way that I'm working? What do you think I could do better? Then that gives them a chance to say, you could slow down, maybe. Different scenario is when someone, as you were implying, Mohit, feels that if they say no, if they put their boundaries up, something bad will happen for them. It will stop their progress, or it will harm their reputation. That boss might be unkind about them, either to them or behind their back. That's a tricky one. And as a good friend, I have encouraged people I know to find another place to work, because you're not going to change your boss by putting your foot down and creating your boundaries, unfortunately. So if they're not open to conversation, if they're not curious about what's important for you, I personally don't believe there's a huge amount that you can do. You can sit down and talk to them about it, but if they're not interested, they're not going to hear you. So I have given myself that advice and taken it. I walked away from a very good job because I knew that I was in a place where I wasn't psychologically safe. I couldn't push back on this particular boss. And this was not that long ago. I wasn't a tiny junior. I was a senior person, but there was a senior person above me who made life untenable. And I do think sometimes that is the hard conversation to have with yourself or with a friend or colleague if they're in that place. However, it could be that your boss doesn't know how they're making you feel. So I think before you do the drastic thing of running away and finding something else to do, there is an opportunity to be brave, to sit down and to say, I just need you to understand that this is a lot for me, whether it's the amount of work or whether it's a particular task. A long time ago, when I was maybe 4 or 5 years into work, I was asked to work with a client who I really didn't want to work with as a consultant because of my values. And I swallowed hard, explained it to my boss, and he said, oh, well, that's really difficult because we think you're the right person for the job. And if you really can't work with someone in this industry, I've got to respect that. And it was such a shock to me. I didn't think that he would, I thought he'd tell me to pack my bag. So sometimes we can lean in and be really brave and trust that sometimes someone will hear you. So long answer, I apologise, but I think it's a really complex space. And I'd love to hear what Pragya and Nupur feel about that. I'll start with you, Nupur. What do you think about what I've just been saying? It is complicated, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, it is definitely complicated. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a great idea to, try to build a relationship, try to push yourself, but everything has a limit. And you should know that when to stop. If you think that you have done your bit and it is still not getting fixed, it's like a failed marriage. You can call it off when you know that it's not working well for you at the end. I mean, of course, yeah, you can have open communication, you can talk about it, you can discuss, and you can mull over it. But then, if you think that it's going beyond your psychological safe thought process, and it's going beyond your fundamental thoughts, then yeah, I mean, you can think about it, and it's building a relationship. I believe that building relationship is with super coaches, with coaches, are equally important. How you build a friend, how you build partners, relationship with your partners, friends, etc. It's equally important, but then it comes with lot of dedication, and dedication brings complexity. So yeah, that's from my side.
Thank you. Pragya, what do you think? Any golden thoughts?
Not to be very specific, but what I believe in this context is usually a culture is being built by the top hierarchy everywhere, and it gets too decentralized often. So leaders can actually create a culture where people feel empowered to speak, how to say no without fear of getting into that circle of judgment. And there's a culture where I can say what I think and not what the other person wants to listen from me. That is something which is very important. At times, the people who are at the junior positions, they feel that even if we are doing our 100%, it is not really possible for us to say no, because if we are doing 99% of the things correct, into the manner, into the shoes, still that 1%, that one no can create it can pour water on everything, the 99% of work, the hard work which we have actually put into the work. So understanding and giving that benefit of doubt to every individual from the leader's side is very important, that if someone is performing his or her best in 99% of the situations, then 1% of something is there, they should also listen and they should come forward. This will actually empower the team. They will start taking their own decisions. And how you mentioned, Olivia, it was such a great example to listen to that situation where you have been, that how the senior official made it comfortable for you, even praising you, that even if you are not able to handle the situation, who else can? And if you have taken that decision, then there would be something better in your thought process. So respecting the thought process of the other person is equally important. So absolutely on to the point.
Thanks.
And I would
I
like
think
to
it's also,
add something.
yeah.
Yeah, I would like to add something. Sometimes it's our own, own mind which says that this is how it is, but actually, you also, maybe there can be some communication gap, and maybe you have built a story on your own by yourself that if something will happen, maybe my boss will not be happy, or maybe my coach will be disappointed. So first you need to clear the air in your mind, that the way you are thinking, is it even true? And this brings me to um, something called behavioral styles, wherein we have different quadrant, uh, and there is a specific quadrant called supporting style. So sometimes our own personality, wherein we are those one of those folks who are sitting in that quadrant, think that it should be in a way wherein I have to prove myself and I have to take everybody along. But it's also important that you should learn how to flex yourself in order to shift from that quadrant to probably analytical quadrant or promoting side, where you can talk, where you can think that is it okay to question your own self? Are you going in a right direction? That's again very important to introspect sometimes.
Nice.
Agree.
And to
Yeah.
add on the same point, Nupur, being on the coachee side, we being the junior one, we always it is a tendency to get into that thought process because of the confirmative bias we have, based on various situations we have been into the past. So if we are getting judged today, we have something, the notion in our mind that it was the case before also, and we were being judged for something which we didn't do. So that confirmative bias onto the part of the leader, that also makes a great difference. So I think bias is also something which we should talk about, and we should actually not get into that practice. Being the junior or the senior doesn't matter, but judgments and biases, they usually do not in hand.
So having heard these very interesting views, uh, I guess while a lot can be done by coaches, but still, I think the key lies with the leaders. I think they need to definitely demonstrate a lot of freedom, a lot of confidence to their coaches, and they have to also be prepared to take back a lot to themselves. Leaders are not, it's not a one-way street. So they have to be ready to have feedback, to have rejections to their ideas, to have been challenged while they are challenging the other side very often. So I think a lot needs to be done in grooming that leadership values in people to really foster that freedom, that confidence to the coaches. While I truly uh, support the idea which came from the poor Pragya, Olivia, you, that if the leader is failing in doing so, the coaches have a right, the coaches have way out, they need to then show the courage and draw a line without thinking about the counter effects or the repercussions, because ultimately it's about yourself, and there's a life which is beyond work, and we must look to that while we are deciding on our judgments. And this goes to me, this goes to all of us. And I think there is a lot to be done, but we have to lay the right foundation to get the coaches to that comfort that saying no will not be retaliated, will not be taken as a rejection, will not be getting them back to them with a huge penalization. So, Olivia, what's your closing thoughts on this? How can these confidence be fostered? Because I feel unless we foster this confidence to our team, that you are at the freedom to speak your truth. It can be yes, it can be no, it can be agreements, it can be disagreements. I see that the efforts being done by organizations across in fostering psychological safety will never see the light of the day. So what's your thought on this?
I think there's something Pragya said about the leader needing to role model. I said it, I think, when we were talking to Matt, but we can be told we're creating a psychologically safe environment. We believe in psychological safety. You should feel safe. Until someone makes us feel that, it's not going to happen. So leaders need to be modeling a little bit of vulnerability, showing that they are human too, being really curious about what's important for the people that they work with, and being honest enough to say, you know what, if that doesn't work for you, I recognize that. We'll work together to find another way. I do believe, the leaders are at the centre of creating the culture around them. That shadow of a leader concept that I think most people will recognise is true. And so if the leader ain't going to change, well, the people can change the leader. Vote with your
Very
feet.
true. Very true. Nupur, anything from you on this?
Uh, as rightly said by Olivia, I think I would like to close with the fact that uh, overthinking is bad. Yeah. One should speak the heart out, have healthy discussions, have regular catch up, and it should not be just in office premises. Try going out, having a coffee outside in a cafe, and uh, just try to change the overall mood, and then you see how beautifully the conversation can lead to. And yeah, that's what I like to do, and that's what my team members like to do. And trust me, it's a live experiment. It helps a lot. It's helping me a lot. So yeah.
Pragya, what do you feel?
Uh, I just want to add one this point from my side that uh, when I'll be very honest that how I see the leadership is something where I don't want the leader to have all the answers or to be the correct person. No one is right or no one is wrong. No one is perfect in that for that matter. What matters to me uh, is the how we are, what is my relationship with that specific person when it comes to my mental stability. How much comfortable I am there speaking up for myself, sharing my thoughts, and not thinking that my thoughts may not be correct. Even if they are not correct, having that comfort to speak what is not correct is also a psychological safety. So that is something which leadership actually means. It is not always that leaders have to have all answers, they have to be correct. But yeah, creating a space for your team members where they feel empowered to contribute and grow is important.
No, wonderful. I think, Olivia, we had a very exciting discussion. I think this should go long. However, the time is becoming a constraint here to take it further. But I can tell that a lot has been spoken, the lot is spoken, and the lot needs to be spoken. I think the more we discuss, the more we speak about these things, the sooner we can see those changes to come out. We cannot conclude on anything as to what is the right way, what is the wrong way, what needs to be done, and what not to be done. But we can definitely, through these conversations, ignite many thoughts in the mind of both the leaders and the coaches as to what they should really start thinking about. Because once you start thinking about, that thought process will come in your actions, and you will see this transformation really coming and helping both the sides. I think this is all I have to say. Anything you would like to add to this?
No, I think you've said it all. It's been such a lovely conversation. Really interesting to hear two similar and different perspectives, as we said in the first place. It's great to have these things talked about, because it's through that and our curiosity for the other view that we will see change.
Absolutely. So thank you, Nupur. Thank you,
Thank
Pragya,
you.
for sparing time for this show. And it was very exciting and very, very interesting to talk to you. We look forward to have more of you on our future videos, and do keep sharing your thoughts with your friends, your communities, on how this important aspect of psychological safety can be brought in our lives. Thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, everyone.
Bye.